National, full-blown conversation about reparations in this country.
I've long believed that this country should address slavery, the original sin of slavery, including by looking at reparations. Why wouldn't you compensate people who actually were property?
Jason Nichols is a professor of African American Studies at the University of Maryland. He joins us tonight. Professor, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you, Tucker.
I actually agree that slavery is America's original sin. I think it has had consequences that have rippled through the centuries. The question is, what do you do about it? And because it's actually not a very racist country, we've had a ton of intermarriage and even more immigration over the 150 years since slavery ended. So how exactly would this work? How would you decide who gets rewarded and who doesn't?
Well, number one, I don't think we should think of it as a reward. We should think of it as a debt that's being paid that's been owed for a very long time. So I think the idea of reward or punishment is misguided.
Who gets the money? How do you decide? It's a real. I mean, at some point, if it's a policy, you have to make real decisions.
Again,
who qualifies.
And what people are calling for now is actually what John Conyers has been calling for a very long time, and that is a national conversation about how you would dispense this. What is the right way? And
good. Well, that's why this is. Everyone always calls for conversations. No one wants to have them. I always do.
Yeah.
So
I'm all
I know you are. So let's get super specific.
Sure.
Who gets the money and who pays for it? If my ancestors came in 1980, am I on the hook for paying? And if your ancestors came in 1975, do you get the money?
No, this is for the descendants of enslaved Africans.
Right.
So if your ancestors came in 1960, that would not necessarily fall under this under the purview. But what I will say is,
it wouldn't at all, right?
Again, the idea that this is something that is being paid by individuals rather than by the United States of America. We're talking about the country's debt that it owes to descendants of enslaved Africans.
But the people who live here would be paying for it. So no one alive participated directly, but there are a ton of people here who are descended from the Union soldiers who were killed trying to end slavery, or whatever, or who are even more who are the children of recent immigrants.
Sure.
Would they be on the hook? And I guess the answer is yes. So let me just ask you a most basic question, which is, if we did this, I'm not even arguing against it, would the slate be clean? Could we try to become a less racialized society? Could we end affirmative action? Could we end preferences in hiring? Why wouldn't we?
Well, first of all, I think when we talk about reparations, for the most part, we're talking about the economic issues that are involved or that came from the institution of slavery.
Right.
Now, when we talk about affirmative action and many of the other programs that have been used to address discrimination, a lot of times they're used to address discrimination right now. And the other thing is,
wait, so just to be totally clear, so we pay reparations, but we keep affirmative action and we keep
And by the way, affirmative action, the primary beneficiaries, despite what you'll hear from Abigail Fisher and Jennifer Gratz and all those other people who complain, the primary beneficiaries of affirmative action have been white women.
Oh, I agree.
Not African American.
Well, I mean, the system has been scammed like no other. Elizabeth Warren was a beneficiary of it. I'm against. Nobody should be a beneficiary of a reward based on something they couldn't control.
We don't know that Elizabeth Warren.
I think we do.
Oh, we don't. There's no evidence.
The school bragged that she was the first tenured law professor of color.
But there's nothing that says that she got anything from affirmative action.
That's how the system
works.
That's
what racist people say.
So she claimed to be another.
No, because you're something
But she wasn't American Indian. She exploited somebody else's culture, and I'm the racist for pointing it out.
No, look, again.
I love that.
I didn't call you a racist.
No, I know you didn't.
Other people do, but I didn't call you that.
That's pretty funny. Professor, it's great to see you, as always.
Absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying. And you can always have those conversations on this show.
Thank you so much.
Rising tuition rates and